Good morning. It's Friday, October 7, 2022. Here is the top 5 news from CNN today. Number 1. Biden pardons. President Joe Biden on Thursday pardoned all federal offenses for simple marijuana possession, a move the senior administration official said would affect thousands of Americans charged with that crime. Quote, no one should be in jail just for possessing or using marijuana, Biden said in a video announcing his executive actions. As part of the announcement, Biden also encouraged governors to take similar steps to pardon those with state marijuana possession charges. Number 2, Las Vegas stabbings. A suspect in custody after 2 people were killed and 6 were wounded in a series stabbing in front of Las Vegas casino on Thursday. The incident took place near the Wynn Hotel and Casino shortly before noon. Police said the 32-year-old suspect was taken into custody on 2 counts of open murder with a deadly weapon and 6 counts of attempted murder with a deadly weapon. Authorities have not shared the suspect's motive, but the stabbing appeared to be unprovoked. Sheriff Joseph Lombardo said the victims were a combination of local and tourists. Number 3. Iran. The U.S. issued new sanctions Thursday on 7 senior Iranian officials over the Iranian government's violent crackdown on mass protests and restrictions on internet access in the country. For weeks, the protest movement in Iran's capital of Tehran has gathered momentum since the death of Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old Kurdish Iranian woman who died after being detained by the country's morality police for apparently not wearing her hijab properly. More than 1,000 people have believed to have been detained in the demonstrations. According to CNN, has not been able to independently verify the number of dead and injured, but state media say 40 people have died since the start of the protest in September. Human rights group Amnesty International say at least 52 have been killed. Number 4. Trump. How can we go throughout the day without news from the former president, Donald Trump, right? What do you say? The Justice Department officials are insisting to former President Donald Trump's attorney that he return any outstanding documents marked classified, making it clear that they do not believe he has returned all the materials. Whether the FBI rounded up all the sensitive federal records in Trump's possession during the search of his Mar-a-Lago residence is a question that is looms over the situation in recent weeks. But in a numerous court filing, prosecutor indicated they had concern that classified records were possibly still missing. Number 5. Amazon. Amazon planned to hire 150,000 new workers in the U.S. to meet demand ahead of the busy holiday shopping season. The company said Thursday the opening, which include full-time, seasonal, and part-time roles ranging from picking and packing to sorting and shipping. While Amazon typically opens new role each holiday season, this large hiring spree comes in a heel of tight labor market, and a rising inflation continues to put more pressure on companies to raise wage. In response, Amazon said it would increase wage to $19 an hour based on the position, up from an average of $18 previously, and provided sign-on bonuses. Some of the states with the highest number of jobs available, including California, Illinois, and Texas. Other news from the United States of America. Biden warned of Armageddon. What is it about Armageddon? President Joe Biden warned at a fundraiser in New York last night that the Russian invasion of Ukraine invites the highest nuclear prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Putin is not joking when he talks about the potential using tactical nuclear weapon or biological or chemical weapons because his military is, you might say, significantly underperforming, Biden said at a DSCC fundraising at the Manhattan home of James and Catherine Murdoch. Nobel Peace Prize. The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded this morning to Ales Bialiatski, detained activist in Belarus, Russian Human Rights Organization Memorial, and Ukrainian Human Rights Organization Center for Civil Liberties. The committee said it wanted to honor 3 outstanding champions of human rights, democracy, and peaceful coexistence in neighboring countries of Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine. The panel's chair used the announcement to urge Belarus to release Bialiatski. Happy birthday! Russian President Vladimir Putin finds himself in the eyes of the storm of his own making. His army is suffering humiliating defeat in Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands of Russians are fleeing his mobilization order, and his top lieutenants are publicly insulting military leaders. With his room for maneuvering narrowing, Putin has repeatedly signaled that he would resort to nuclear weapon to protect the Russian gang in Ukraine, a harrowing threat that shatters the claim of stability and has repeated throughout his 22 years rule. This is very hard for Putin at this moment, but he can't accuse anyone else. He did it all to himself, said Andriy Kolesnikov. Putin has broken an unwritten social contract in which Russians tactically agreed to forego post-Soviet political freedoms in exchange for relatively prosperity and internal stability. Russians have eagerly embraced Putin's promise to restore the country's grandeur amid oil-driven economic prosperity, and they have been largely indifferent to the Kremlin's relentless crackdown on political freedoms. Insiders who have closely studied Putin's thinking say he still believes he can emerge as a winner. Putin wants the West to tactically accept the current status quo in Ukraine, resume energy cooperation with Russia, lift all the crippling sanctions, and unfreeze Russian assets. He still believes that he will get his way in the long showdown with the West. At the same time, Putin threatened to use all means available to defend the newly annexed Ukrainian territories in a blunt attempt to force Ukraine and its Western ally to back off. Ukraine vowed to press its counter-offensive despite Russians' rhetoric. Saudi Arabia and the United States, what happened? President Biden on Thursday effectively acknowledged that the failure of one of his biggest and most humiliating foreign policy gambles, a fist bump with the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince associated with human rights abuse. Biden's awkward encounter with Mohammed bin Salman in July was humbling attempt to mend relations with the world's most influential oil power at time when U.S. was seeking its help in opposing Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the resulting surge in oil price. That fist bump 3 months ago was followed by a face slap this week from Prince Mohammed, a big oil production cut by OPEC production and Russia to sustain oil producer Russia in its war in Ukraine, drive the inflation higher, and push gas price back toward voter angering level just before U.S. midterm, undercutting the election prospect of Biden and Democrat. Asked about Saudi Arabia action, Biden told reporter on Thursday it was disappointment. That's the word, disappointment. A number of Democrats in Congress called on the U.S. Thursday to respond by pulling back all its decades-old provision of arms and U.S. military protection for Saudi Arabia, charging that Prince Mohammed has stopped upholding Saudi Arabia's side of more than 70-year strategic partnerships. The relationship is based on the U.S. providing the kingdom with protection against its outside enemies and on Saudi Arabia providing global market with enough oil to keep them stable.